What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, and today we're going to talk about Thor Ragnarok. Alright, let's get into a quick intro. Thor has found himself imprisoned in a gladiatorial contest against his friend from work, the Hulk. Thor must fight and race against time to prevent the villain named Hela from destroying his home, Asgard. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on to the good.
The good.
Now, I've got to give major props to director Taika Waititi for submerging us in this fantastic world of Asgard. The same way that Guardians of the Galaxy transported us to another world, Waititi brought us into the world of Asgard without the constant distraction of what's going on Earth. I've always thought that this was something that was sorely lacking in many of the previous Thor films, so experiencing a perspective that wasn't Earth-centered was pretty refreshing. Now, going into the film, I was really concerned about whether or not this movie was going to be, slapstick comedy, or if it was just going to be a little bit too comedic. I think that Waititi brought a perfect blend of both drama and comedy that just made this movie way more entertaining. The action scenes were also shot perfectly, and they were also pretty reminiscent of like those group fighting shots that we saw in some of the Matrix films. I also really like the subtle mixture of both the CGI and practical effects. The visuals rarely, if ever, felt cheap, and as you could probably tell from the trailer, it's a very bright and colorful and vivid looking movie. Now, going back to the action, that whole little fight between the Hulk that was teased in the trailers, it was great. It leaves without question that both Hulk and Thor are the strongest characters that we have to date in the MCU. Best of all, the end of the fight I think will undoubtedly generate some interesting conversations between fans online. Now, I've got to give it up for Chris Hemsworth as well. He was finally able to fully unleash his comedic talents in Thor Ragnarok. Much of the humor is found in his dialogue, and he executes it perfectly. More importantly, I really appreciated the growth that they showed in Thor's character throughout this film. Thor has just matured in a number of different ways compared to when we first saw him in the first Thor movie. Now, I typically give movie studios a ton of crap for their trailers, but I have to say that I'm very appreciative with the intentional misdirect that Marvel did in their trailer. I mean, an interesting development happens to a main character in the movie, and the trailer clearly shows a very altered and alternate scene that doesn't give anything away. I see you, Marvel. Okay, let's get to the bad.
The bad.
Alright, let's talk about the classic go-to issue with Marvel's villain problem. Cate Blanchett, who I think needs to stay a brunette, had a golden opportunity to be one of the best villains as Hela. I mean, she had the power and the ability to pose a legitimate threat to all the heroes. Unfortunately, her character is given a pretty straightforward motivation that makes her a pretty bland villain. It was a little disappointing that they didn't capitalize on some of her psychological issues. I mean, they could have fleshed out a little bit more of her ambitions and motivations just to see what makes her so evil. Moving on to Carl Urban, really wasn't the biggest fan of what they did with his character. I mean, I understood what they did with him, but I'm just not sure it really worked. From the moment we're introduced to his character, you pretty much can easily predict what type of actions he's gonna take on later in the movie. So I can't tell if he overacted his role or if they just poorly wrote his character and failed to give him any level of depth. Now, there was another missed opportunity with another major villain in this movie. Now, this villain was incredibly powerful, not just in Norse mythology, but also in the comics as well. However, they only used this villain as a mere plot device, and it felt like kind of a waste. It's almost the exact same issue that happened in the Doctor Strange movie with their big bad villain as well. Well, enough of that. Let's get on to the reason.
The reason.
Now, if Thor Ragnarok had been our introduction to Thor, let's say 6 years ago, we could have had another Iron Man situation on our hands. What Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man, Chris Hemsworth was able to do that now in Thor Ragnarok. He's totally owned this role now. Now, I should mention that you should temper your expectations if you were expecting some sort of rendition of Planet Hulk. This is not a substitute for Planet Hulk, nor does it really make up for the fact that we just can't get a solo movie of Hulk. There's no question about it, this is a Thor film. Hulk just happens to be in it. Now, if I had to compare, I'd probably say that Thor Ragnarok is kind of like Flash Gordon meets This Is the End starring He-Man. Now, you could probably walk into this movie cold if you wanted to. However, you'll definitely get a deeper appreciation for a lot of the jokes and the many references that are made throughout the film based on a number of previous Marvel movies. So when it comes to the rating for Thor Ragnarok, I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. Thor Ragnarok is absolutely worth the watch in theaters, and be sure to stay for the 2 end credit scenes. I happened to watch my screening only in the standard 2D version, and I thought it was fine. However, like I said before, this movie's got a lot of colors. They do have a lot of intentional things that are made for 3D, so don't feel bad if you want to splurge a little bit and go see it in IMAX 3D as well. Now, I'll go out on a limb and I'll say this now. I think that Thor Ragnarok has cemented itself as one of Marvel's top 5 best movies to date. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. Are you excited to go see Thor Ragnarok? If you have seen Thor Ragnarok, tell me, what did you think about it? Do you think that it was one of Marvel's top 5 best movies? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video if you enjoyed it. You can always stay connected with me and the 33,000 other fans on my Facebook fan page. You can check out my other reviews on emansmoviereviews.com, and I got more videos and reviews to do for you all. And until next time, I'll see you later.